So this is our 59th trip to Ukraine, the Yahad. We're in the village of Pechera, in the Vinnytsia region, where we've just interviewed Rita, who was a Jewish survivor of the internment camp, which is just behind us, which was set up by the Romanian occupiers between 1941 and 1944. Patrice, our research director, is going to tell us a little bit about her testimony. So what can you tell us about Rita's testimony? How did she get here? Who did she come with?
We had a very long interview with her, almost 4 hours. And Rita used to live in a small town in the region. The name of the town is Tulchin. And with her family, 27 members, they were brought from Tulchin by walking here in Pechera, in this camp. That was before the war sanatorium, like a kind of hospital for military soldiers. And they were, according to her and according to the archive, between 8,000 and 10,000 prisoners. And here we are just in front of the entrance. It was at that time the same entrance, but they would have a wall in stone, and so on the other side it was a place where Rita would come every day, because the prisoner didn't have any food, any water, so she would come here. And on this side it was a marketplace, so Ukrainian would come and would make they would exchange some food for jewels and stuff like that. And she told us that here on all this territory were people trying to cook what they could have from the Ukrainian people. And it was also through this entrance we have behind us where the carts would enter to bring the bodies of because every day you would have dozens of people dying from hunger, from disease.
So that's one of the particularities of this camp, is that majority of people died from hunger and from disease, and not from being shot, which is often the case in other regions in Ukraine or in Poland.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Rita gave us some quite harrowing details of what happened in this camp. People would resort to cannibalism. The children would have to escape the camp to search for food, to beg, which Rita herself did, I think.
Yeah. She also mentioned that something that we didn't have in the archives, for instance, that the cruelty of the local police, that, for instance, she said one policeman very frequently would kill children by beating them against trees or against wall. We have the main building there where the prisoners were living. And she also mentioned that during the night, Romanian gendarme would come and take some Jewish girls and would rape them during the night, and the girls came back in the morning crying and traumatized, totally traumatized.
So what happened to the bodies of the people that died here?
Yeah, the bodies were brought by Jews and Ukrainian carts at the beginning to the Jewish cemetery. But at one moment, first there were not enough room in the cemetery, and also the Ukrainian from the village complained and say that they could have some disease and epidemic, so they decided to bury the bodies in the forest. And we learned also something that was not said in the archive, that from time to time Germans would come here from the other side, because the frontier is not far away. The border with German occupation was not far away, and the German would come and selected some people and would shot them in the forest.
They would also come and take certain groups of people for forced labor as well, is
Absolutely.
that right?
Yeah, so they made behind us there was a kind of fontaine, and they would make the selection, the women and the children apart, and the Jewish men who were able to work, they would take them on the German side to work for them and to build the road.
And Rita told us that once they'd finished this labour, they were shot most of the time.
Yeah, most of them were shot. Yeah, when they were not useful for the German.
So what happened at the end of the war? How was the camp liberated?
So the camp was liberated by the Soviet army. So at the beginning they were very afraid because the prisoner heard that they might be shot by the Germans, and so they were closed in the building, and they heard some soldiers coming, and it was the Soviet army that liberated them in '44.
And after the war, Rita, I mean, her hardship continued, really, didn't it? So.
Yeah, the nightmare for her didn't end because she was orphaned. I told you that 27 members of her family came, and all of them died, apart her and her brother. So she came back to Tulchin, the small town where she was born, and she was an orphan, and she was alone by herself, and she even tried to commit suicide. And hopefully she was saved by the Ukrainian woman that brought her to the Jewish community, and the Jewish community eventually took care of her.
Thank you, Patrice. Thank you.